Before we start in earnest, I just want to make sure it was known that before I started recording, I heard audio imbalance in my headset, and I was... I spent something like 2-3 minutes trying to gaslight myself to tell me, oh, my ears are wrong, instead of adjusting the headphone jack and realizing, oh wait, no, there is an audio imbalance. My right side is quite louder than the left. And I didn't feel vindicated so much as I felt disappointed in myself. I felt disappointed because I was looking at myself like, wait, so you thought it better that perhaps you have terrible bodily harm placed upon you versus perhaps your headset, your monitor headphones are wrong. I have 2 things I want to talk to today. I think I had the odd realization the other day that being raised on the internet and being raised on television are 2 completely different beasts and are not at all equivalent. When I tell you raised on television, what do you think? Perhaps if you are a Dan Harmon fan, you'd think of Jeff Winger or Abed Nadir, 2 characters who have modeled themselves or view the world through the lens of television, its tropes, its leading men and women. They sort of absorbed the lessons of HBO, where life fits into many of these very neat, specific archetypes. And because it's so aspirational, because often in an attempt to capture the most authentic experience, or rather the truest experience aside of authenticity, to try to get to the real core of human experience and people having this similar hallucination of how humans should act, that you could feasibly play with those tropes in real life and play them to some fruition, because in an attempt to emulate what a boardroom should look like, what a busy hospital should look like, what winning in high school should look like, you accidentally your way into it. Sure, that's what I think of when I think of somebody who is raised on television. Somebody who might be a touch naive or idealistic or a touch cynical and sort of transpose the tropes of leading men in their real life and see some kind of bonus, some kind of win. When I think about the opposite, when I think about somebody who was raised on the internet, oh goodness, is it different. The first thing that comes to mind is, I suppose, trauma. I feel like if you were raised on the internet, and again, first of all, this should not be seen as aspirational or gatekeeping. I'm sure there are several different ways that the internet can be a mother or father or parent to you. The majority of them unhealthy, but if you came out of this well-adjusted, I'm very, very happy for you. That is a gift. That is something you should be incredibly proud of, and not something that people would be able to take away from you, or not something that people should be able to take away from you by saying you haven't been through enough. If you were raised on the internet and turned out well-adjusted, I mean this sincerely. Bully for you. For the rest of individuals who were raised on the internet, I can't help but think that you got a lot of firsts early. I can't help but feel as though in an attempt to find yourself and grow yourself, you might have stumbled into spaces that were not yours, did not belong to you, and those might have had formative results in your existence. You might have entertained certain content too early, or even interacted with said content too early. You might have interacted with people you shouldn't have. Because the thing about the internet is that the internet doesn't connect ideas and people seamlessly. It connects people to people. And as much of a gift as it can be to suddenly be able to interact with all kinds of wonderful, interesting, and fantastic folks, it equally makes you accessible to terrible people. When I think of someone who's raised off the internet, I often think about somebody who has a lot of unresolved issues. I think of somebody who might be in a state of arrested development, who was stuck, or who is stuck at a original wound, and finds often non-healthy ways to interact with said wound. And by virtue of being on the internet and by virtue of you finding this video, you might be healing in public. You might be presenting yourself, a idealized version of yourself on the internet with the intent to show people that you're okay, that you're put together. And I want you to know that it's okay not to be. I spoke very recently, I think only one video before this one, to the idea of control and why folks like ourselves on the internet work so hard to attain a incredibly manicured environment. And it can be to guard your heart. And I want you to know that, firstly, nothing I should say to you right now should have any great deal of impact, but even that aside, if I may have some kind of impact, I want you to know that it's okay to be healing. It's okay not to be finished. It's okay to be in the process of getting to where you would like to be. Because while we existed on the sidelines, not necessarily always understanding or comprehending the people who we seem to think don't live on the internet or were not raised on the internet, that they are also fighting with similar traumas, some similar ideas. It might not be the same to you, but everyone is working on themselves. And the injuries that you withstood do not define you. The way that you cope with your trauma does not define you. And again, what I say to you at this moment shouldn't move you in any great or specific way, but I want you to know that there is hope for the terminally online. Ding ding, 10 minutes. Did you see me? I got startled there.